Breaking news, UFC 249 is off. I was lying in bed just over there, out of shot, in my shorts. I was just about to start watching Peaky Blinders on Netflix, season 2, episode 4, I think I'm on. I was scrolling through my phone and I saw a couple of tweets from Brett Okamoto and Ariel Helwani confirming UFC 249 has been cancelled. So I jumped out of bed, and whilst I was jumping out of bed, I watched Dana White on Instagram Live, talking about the fact that the fight was off. I watched an interview between Brett Okamoto and Dana White discussing the kind of the story behind why this event has been cancelled. I've seen a few kind of prominent journalists on MMA, tweeting about it. Ariel Helwani, Sean O'Shea, and a few others. So I thought, you know what? Let me get dressed. Let me put a reasonable pair of shorts on, a t-shirt on. I even put shoes and socks on because I didn't want to expose my feet to the perverts on the internet. So yeah, I just wanted to react a little bit. So this is just going to be a quick video to talk about my thoughts about all of this. So right off the bat, Dana White said the reason why the fight is off because he got a call from the powers that be at ESPN, and they told him to stand down. I was a little bit disappointed because Brett didn't really press Dana White on the reason why they told Dana White to stand down. Because look, ever since the coronavirus broke, when I say broke in the West, like ever since America started feeling the effects of it, ever since they had the empty arena show in Brazil, ever since in the UK people started wising up to the extent of the issue that the coronavirus is, Dana White has been adamant that April 18 will be going ahead as scheduled. He's never stepped back from that. He's never shirked from that. He's been adamant that this fight is going to go ahead on April 18. With that attitude, you're 100% certain that ESPN were fully aware of these plans. I understand the situation with the coronavirus has been changing daily, but what I really want to know is why ESPN have now had a change of heart. What influenced that decision? What happened to make them change their mind? That's one thing that Brett didn't really press Dana White on. And I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, because even in the interview that Brett had with Dana White a couple of days ago when they announced that Gaethje was replacing Khabib in the main event, and UFC 249 is 100% going ahead. Brett didn't really press Dana White on a number of things, or make Dana White or ask him to disclose information that we as fans, followers of the sport, want to know, such as the exact location, such as what measures are being put in place to ensure the health and safety of the fighters, such as what kind of medical kind of procedures are being put in place for testing for coronavirus. And if someone does test for positive for coronavirus, what does that mean? What does that mean for the fighter that's involved, whether it's someone is in his camp, whether it's just a resource working on the event, whether it's someone at the hotel or the resort that the event was going to go ahead on. There's so many different things that personally I kind of wanted to know that Brett didn't really press on. And I rate Brett as a journalist. I like the work that he does. I like him as an individual. He seems like a likable guy, and he's in a bit of a precarious kind of position because even though he works for ESPN, ESPN's a platform that broadcasts the UFC. So it's almost like he's working for both entities at the same time. So it's a difficult position because he's the one that's got access to Dana White. He's the one that they call on when they break the most kind of major news pieces. And I'm pretty sure there's a level of influence on him that kind of restrict him from asking the questions that I'm sure he deep down wants to ask, because he's an intelligent individual. But that's enough about Brett. I don't even know why I start talking about that. But anyway, the point of this is the UFC 249 being cancelled. So as I was scrolling on Twitter, I saw this tweet that Ariel Helwani put out before the news broke, and it was a statement put out by a senator called Dianne Feinstein. Now, I don't really know the function of a senator, because over here in England you got councillors, then you got MPs, then you got cabinet members, and then you got the prime minister. We don't have anything called a senator over here, so I don't know what a senator does. I've never heard of Dianne Feinstein. She's a senator in California, apparently. I don't know how much power she has or how little power she has, but it's worth noting because this statement was public, or Ariel Helwani tweeted a statement literally 10 or 15 minutes before the news broke that UFC 249 is cancelled. I'm not going to read the whole statement, but I just want to read a couple of sentences. One of them that I found interesting. I'm concerned by reports that the Ultimate Fighting Championship plan to hold a pay-per-view event in California in defiance of the state's shelter-in-place order. Another one is, I understand this event is scheduled to take place on tribal land and therefore is not subject to state law. However, at best, this event ties up medical resources and sends a message that shelter-in-place orders can be flouted. So basically what she's saying there is that even though we've got orders for people to self-isolate, those orders can be ignored if you've got enough power and influence, which the UFC try to show that they have. And on this occasion, it didn't work. And I wonder whether this has got something to do with ESPN's decision to pull, well, did they pull the event or tell the UFC to pull the event? You know, I don't know whether there's a correlation between the two, but it's worth noting because that statement came out so soon before the announcement that the event was cancelled was made. Now, for me personally, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've got mixed feelings. I'm disappointed the event isn't happening because I've mentioned this to you guys before. I'm bored. I'm bored as hell, man. There's no football. There's no MMA. There's no boxing. There's nothing for me to look forward to. Do you know what I mean? There's literally nothing for me to look forward to at the moment. And it would have been nice, man. Like all of next week, I'd have been just sitting around, just kind of digesting content about UFC 249, and I would have stayed up and watched the entire event, prelims included. But at the same time, I did have reservations, and kind of morally, I was kind of in a bit of a dilemma about whether this fight. Morally, I was in a dilemma because I didn't think this fight should go ahead. And I kept thinking about people that work for the UFC and resources that would have had to work for this event to take place, that might not have wanted to be there, but didn't feel they had the authority to say no. I know Dana White has come out and said that he's asked people if they want to be involved or if they want to work and whatnot. They had the opportunity to say no, or they had the choice. But sometimes it's not as black and white as just saying yes or no, because if a person says no, that might have an impact on their career moving forward when things, you know, hopefully go back to normal. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a sticky one still, you know. So not just that, I was kind of concerned about whether holding this event causes a medical issue, like a death with coronavirus for someone that's connected to the event, not necessarily directly, but you know, just, you know, a family member of a fighter, a trainer, a cameraman, a UFC resource. Do you know what I mean? Like, something could have happened. Like, there's a reason why we're all being told to stay indoors, and I was just concerned that something didn't sit right. It didn't feel right that this was going ahead, even though I kind of deep down did want it to go ahead because I'm a fan. Like, I wanted to see the fight. So I suppose that's why I had kind of mixed feelings about it all. It feels like this whole thing has just been a display of Dana White's stubbornness, because as soon as this coronavirus stuff broke, Dana White was adamant that April 18 is going to go ahead as scheduled. He was adamant about it. But then things changed on a daily basis, and you got to see the problem almost grow on a daily basis, and we got to see, oh shit, this is actually serious. Oh shit, this is serious. Oh shit, this is serious. Do you know what I mean? Like, it grew, and with it growing, no one would have felt bad about, or thought bad about Dana White if he turned around and said, look, when I initially made the comment that this is definitely going ahead to where we are now, I didn't know then how bad the situation is as it is today. And for that reason, I don't think we should go ahead. I think we need to use a bit of common sense and not have an MMA event which could impact the lives of human beings. Do you know what I mean? Which could add to issues that people are dealing with at the moment. But it just feels like this was almost like a point of stubbornness now from Dana White, and maybe that's the same kind of mentality, same part of his mental emotional makeup that has enabled him to get to where he is now. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to say maybe morals and ethics don't play a big part in his thought process, but maybe his single-mindedness to drive forward is what has enabled him to get to where he is now. But for me, it just felt a little bit wrong. Looking forward now, because now all UFC events have been postponed indefinitely. When they get the word that things are okay to start up again, I think now there's no reason to now just have the Tony Ferguson and Khabib fight, because even though I know Khabib's got Ramadan coming up at some point in the next couple of months, which means he's probably going to be out of action until, I don't even know when Ramadan is, but let's just, for argument's sake, September, October. Even if the UFC get the clear to start again in July, at that point, you're only a couple of months away from September, October, so you may as well wait for the Tony Ferguson Khabib fight. There's no need to force a Tony Ferguson fight at this point. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of other fighters on the roster that can fill up cards up until a point when Tony and Khabib are both ready to fight each other. So let's please use a little bit of common sense, and let's just wait for that to happen, because this year's been fucked up. And if at some point in this whole year, with the way things are played out, if as an MMA fan, like, we get the Khabib and Tony fight this year, every cloud has a silver lining. Do you know what I mean? Like, not having any MMA for, and when I say every cloud, I don't mean people dying of coronavirus. I mean every cloud as in not having any MMA events for, the period that we're not going to have them, which, well, I don't know, will be 2-3 months maybe, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, every cloud has a silver lining in that kind of context. But yeah, I'm gonna keep kind of consuming content and stuff like that, see how everything unfolds, and maybe tomorrow or Saturday. I don't even know what day of the week it is nowadays, but at some point in the next couple of days, I'll record a more in-depth kind of podcast about all of this, because I just find it fascinating how everything's played out. But in the meantime, please feel free to leave your comments below. Don't be scared to hit the like button, share this with your friend or two if you've enjoyed it. If you go in the description of this video, you'll see a whole list of links for my podcast, or whatever phone or platform you use to listen to podcasts. There's a link there for you to click on, subscribe and follow the podcast and have a listen to that. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.